them are in the room as well.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Just can't do like you used to do.
I saw this, but I forgot to say something to you too.
Oh, you got another one coming.
Yeah.
You know what? At the end of the meeting, yeah,
Yeah.
it may be a while before you get out.
Yeah, who knows? I won't remember.
Yeah.
In your old age.
I apologize for the formatting. We're using a new agenda panel, but besides that,
Oh, yeah.
you notice that there's like a blank page on here.
Oh, yeah.
The new online system we use isn't friendly.
Oh, that's too bad. So you have to,
Technology is only getting more.
yeah, more pinky.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Let's see if
Yeah.
Doug and them want to join
Are you
us.
staying busy these days?
Yes, I am.
Busy enough.
That's the way I feel.
Everybody always says, good Lord, cut mine out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I want
Start
to
out in the morning and by the end of the day, I'm whipped.
Yep, I'm tired. Yep, that's right.
I don't know, I can't say.
I don't know either. I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't met since then. No, isn't that crazy?
Yes, it is.
That won't do for all.
That's the only reason I'm staying on is because we're not meeting much. I mean, that's
Yeah.
good. I love it.
Regularly. Yeah, that's, ooh. It's fine to roll in there, go for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the one I'm thinking of, it's right across from First Baptist building. It's got a fence around it in the front. Since there wasn't actually like a street view picture. I'm not sure there's a west side. Yes, it's on the west side.
They look like pretty ragged, so.
I was gonna say, this is, there was one picture, yeah, this one, that I knew that this was First Baptist Sayville here, so I was like, that is the one I thought it was. But some of these to the south of there. Yeah. Somebody been living in it. Even within the campus of here or something about.
Looking at those pictures. Thing around my porch.
Oh, we did?
Because Papa found out my back porch. And so we knocked out a date, and it's like it's on in the same pattern, so it's probably, they probably put that on their house there that we bought.
Usually always is.
Yeah.
Just feel good.
Well,
They're conditioned.
We didn't see it.
I just saw that thing drop off. I mean, we bought it.
yeah, I thought she was probably wrong.
Was it?
I know where the little house is. Church. There used to be a little house next door to that. And they built it.
Well, this side over here,
Yeah.
coming in,
And
yeah.
then we lived in it, and then we moved to the one on the corner across from the church. And then we moved across the street.
Yeah.
There. And then we moved to Super.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You've lived in all of those houses?
Every single one. Well, actually, one more. There was one
Oh, there was one more there, yeah, I remember.
that burned.
Yeah.
Actually, there was two in there, but one of them was out. It was on our property, but it wasn't our house. So.
I was gonna say, it's like little gypsies, you had to keep moving, but you didn't go far.
We couldn't pay the bill.
Yeah.
They were just.
Oh, my goodness. You don't have that key on your tongue.
My husband would have never let me do that, because he didn't think moving from Garland to Sunnyvale was far enough. He said, I'm not moving all this stuff for 10 miles. But yeah, we are.
Well, that's 3 times over, right? We built our area. I said, if we can't make it, I think we're gonna pull down the middle.
You talk a big game.
We, a few years ago, when we replaced our carpet in our house, we unload everything and offered them to come and put it in. And he said, I think we'll just move the next time it needs carpet.
They kept that.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Little of that moving.
Pretty good. I had redid one of my bathrooms. I didn't do it, but I hired it. I had to empty everything.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say.
It's all good.
Okay, good evening. We're going to call to order of the Board of Adjustments tonight at 7:01 p.m. And our first order of business is to state the members present. All are present except for Mr. White is absent. Both alternates are. Mr. John is here as the alternate. The second item on the agenda, or the next item, is to consider approval for the minutes of the meeting of October the 1st of 2018. We have not met since then. So, does anybody have any changes or corrections or concerns?
I have, like on page 4, these are just minor changes. The third paragraph, the second full paragraph on page 4, the last sentence, I think it should be when they came to his office instead of came to his office.
Yes.
And on page 6, 6th paragraph, third sentence, where it says that it should also set a precedent. I think you don't mean
I actually
precedent.
wrote a president,
Yeah.
as in the acting.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And then just the clarification of the last sentence of that section, Member Hill asked, where it says Member Kirkland made a motion to approve with staff's recommendation. I didn't catch what the recommendation was. So just, throughout the whole thing, it was kind of hard. I didn't know what the recommendation was.
The recommendation was that we tabled it,
In order to give the applicant more time.
right, to meet all of his
Yeah, and then
concerns. And
What's transpired since then is a whole nother.
Is a whole other story now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So could we just, in that paragraph, just state that, and that's what we did?
Yep, I can put that in there. Explain recommendation.
And also, I just noticed that under the adjournment, that Member Hill is not capitalized.
Okay. Where at?
After adjourn, Member Hill,
Oh, okay.
since it
Yes.
is a name.
Your own name now. Good.
It's a name.
With all that being said, does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, if you want to make a motion for approval with the changes that have been commented on tonight.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, all right, motion made by Ms. Holt and seconded by Ms. Blackwood for approval as with the changes that, topographical changes and to increase the paragraph of what the motion actually called for. All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't know what
No, I don't think you do, yeah. That's what I was debating too when I didn't see your hand. Like, yeah, I guess you didn't have to. Okay, all right, we're gonna go to our public hearing portion. Tonight, the first application is a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon a request by the town of Sunnyvale to initiate proceedings for abatement of an unsafe structure by demolition at or about 3029 North Beltline Road.
Thank you, Chair and board members. As of Friday, this property owner has obtained a demo permit, and as of today, that structure has been demolished. So we are going to rescind any further action on this property.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Yes, that was terrific.
I do have documentation if y'all would like to see it as far as the permit or pictures of the house being demolished.
Do we actually just withdraw this or table it or as an agenda item or?
I believe that if conditionally, then it should be just, I honestly do not know the realities of it. Guess you all could make a motion to,
Dismiss the case?
Just to dismiss the application? Okay.
Yes.
All right,
That's our recommendation since they've obtained the permit and demolished the house already.
that's perfect. Yeah. Okay, anybody care to make that motion tonight to, what did we say? To
dismiss the.
dismiss this
Dismiss the
application?
case based on the efforts that they've obtained a demolition permit and they've satisfied town requirements.
I offer the motion to dismiss the application.
One I did in there.
Okay.
Pick one.
Thank you. Okay,
That was good.
Motion made by Mr. James, seconded by Mr. Kirkland, to dismiss this application. All those in favor, please signify. And thank you.
Good idea.
Okay, application is going quickly.
Yes.
I thought the hour and a half was a really good record 6 months ago. Okay, hold a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon a request by the town of Sunnyvale to initiate proceedings for abatement of an unsafe structure by demolition at or about 457 Stone Canyon Drive.
Thank you, Chair and board. Give you a little background and analysis on this project. The request has come before the Board of Adjustments because the town building official, myself, has determined that a building is unsafe and needs to be demolished. This public hearing is the process by which the town must follow per the town code of ordinances to cause abatement of an unsafe structure by demolition. The town code of ordinances designates the building official as an ex officio member of the board when a public hearing is required. The property in question has had a partially constructed home in the same state for approximately 4 years due to combination of legal proceedings and lack of funding. Both the former and current building officials have had communications with the owners letting them know that the structure cannot continue to remain in the same state. The current building official, myself, has exhausted all avenues and has no other alternative but to pursue condemnation. A record of all actions and communications by both building officials in chronological order is listed in your packet. I basically inherited this project. I've only been on staff a little over a year, so this has been an ongoing issue even prior to my employment. We have backed off over the length of time because there were legal proceedings going on with the property owner and the builder that was building the property. We did not proceed with anything until we was produced with a final judgment. Once that final judgment was produced to us, we then allowed the property owner to obtain a contractor. That contractor then renewed the building permit to start rebuilding or building and finishing the property. Building permits are only active for 6 months. If after 6 months there is no activity on that building permit then goes inactive. That is the case here. When I first started, I had sent the property owners notice of unsafe structure, and that's when they approached me and talked to me about it being in legal litigation. So we said we will wait until all that gets squared away before we move further. Like I said, once that was taken care of, we issued a building permit. There was no activity for those 6 months, so as of March, when the building permit went inactive, as the building official, I have to then follow protocol and follow ordinances, and so we issued again another notice of unsafe structure at that time. And so we came to a point where nothing was done after 30 days. After 30 days, we then at that point have to go to proceedings, which means we have to present it to you, the BOA. As the building official, I have exhausted all means that I can from a staff perspective. So at this point, I can't make any other decisions or render any decisions on this case. We have to come to you, the board, per our ordinance to present this to you, and our presentation to you would be recommendation of a demolition. And the property owner is here, and he would like to present his side
I was
also.
going to say, yeah, this is a public,
Yes, ma'am.
this is a public hearing, so if the applicant would like to come and speak, please your name, say your name and address for the record.
Sure.
When you come up. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Greg Fox. I'm the property owner, and my wife Laura Fox is here with me. There's a lot of history to this. I'm going to try to go over it briefly, but I do fear that it's probably good to have documentation. I printed out 7 copies. Is it okay if I give you these? I don't know if you'll need them, but...
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not a public speaker, and I'm honestly a little bit terrified about this.
We won't bite, I promise.
I hope not, thank you. Okay, so these documents have a lot of documentation. There's court procedure in here, there's whole email chains and stuff like that. I don't necessarily plan to get into it unless you guys would like more information of some sort, so if you need to, feel free to ask. And everything on here, you have a timeline and I have a more in-depth timeline, and there is some sort of documentation to verify all of these things. So I guess...
Just a moment.
yeah.
Can we turn him up a little bit?
I'm sorry, I won't touch it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hearing impaired.
I'll just try to talk a little bit louder too, is that okay?
Yeah, help a little bit too, but I know they've got some controls there too.
Okay, is that better? Or maybe not?
Now, is it better for you? You guys, we'll, yeah, okay, yeah, just try to kind of lean toward the mic, I guess.
Okay, that I can do. Okay, so this goes back to 2015, or even a little bit before then. Oh wow. So we have all our savings, and we decided that we want to go ahead and pretty much build our dream house, get a architect and get everything set up. So we looked around for a good area, and we decided Sunnyvale is pretty much the best one because really low crime and most of the taxes go to education, all that kind of stuff. So we hired a contractor, and we got work started back in January of 2015. But to keep it simple, basically our contractor was just fraudulent to the core, really. She was using the money for other projects and stuff like that, and kept on demanding more and more money, which we kept paying her, and eventually we said we need to see proof of this, and everything broke down, and she was not just like stopping construction broke down, but to the point where she was trying to make sure I couldn't proceed either. So what she did was she said that the blueprints, even though that happened within like the first month of dealing with her, and it's been a year later, and we paid her well over $400,000. She said that those blueprints are hers, we didn't pay for them, we're not allowed to have them. And unfortunately the city agreed, unless those blueprints are in my name, I can't continue to build. So that's one of the main reasons that the court case had to go forward before I could move forward as well. On top of that, she also said, well, it's going to cost me another, $300,000 to finish this house, so I'm going to put a lien on your house as well for $300,000 as well, which makes it so I can't really pursue financing very easily because they're like, well, you have litigation going on. You know the idea. Okay. Okay. So in May of 2016, we filed against her, and she's been delaying it and all of that kind of stuff to keep it off. And during this time, we looked into financing and to get this moving forward. We looked into talking with the contractor, but the problem is we don't even know what year we could start at this point. This court proceedings, they already pushed it a year. Then more and more going forward and stuff like that. And even after we had the trial, it took another months before we even got a judgment for the judge to actually sign something. So anyhow, she did sign in May of 2018. is when we finally got the judgment. So at that point, we have the plans, we have all that kind of stuff. So what happened after that is, between May and all the way through September, what we're doing now is getting financing moving, we're getting contractors moving. I've got communications going back and forth with 7 different builders, and it's not a simple project to build because it's already half built, and to find a contractor that wants to take that on is not every contractor, and especially not for a good price normally. So we're trying to find someone who's fair and someone who is willing to look into it. So there were multiple complications. I can get into that in the future, but a few months later, in July of 2018, that's when Doug sent over the first notice that it's going to be condemned and sent up for demolition. So at this point, even trying to do our due diligence on these contractors is kind of out the water because we have to get a permit on this thing, otherwise it's going to be demolished and it's all for nothing. So that's what we did. It still took a little longer than we wanted to. I think it was in September where we had a contractor. We didn't have a full contract written out with him, but he seemed legitimate enough and he was confident enough that he could do this. So we said, okay, we'll talk with the lawyer, we'll get a contract set up. At this point, I'm a little bit nervous about all contractors. So we wanted our lawyer to at least look over the contract because we should have done that the first time, honestly. So, that was sometime in September. We got the permit pulled, so that way we could have some time to get this all financed and going through. So also in September, we're starting on the loan process as well. So
September, you're starting what?
September of 2018, we're starting on working on financing now. One of the conditions of financing is how much is the house going to cost, and so we need the full contract for that. So we get that financed out, we send it over to them, make sure they're okay with it. They're okay with it. They were so okay with it that even in December, a few months later, they sent over conditional approval. So we looked over everything, we got all your documentation, income, everything like that. Everything looks like it's going to go through. But the problem is what else can I do at this point? So I've sent you everything, and now I'm just waiting because there's 2 parts of this loan. There is the construction loan to pay for the construction, and then afterwards is the mortgage loan to get everything rolled into one. So they had conditionally approved the mortgage loan, the one that pays for everything involved. I have, during the process of working with the first builder, she kept on demanding more money. So we had money set aside to pay our taxes. We paid that to the contractor, which was not a good idea. So this final mortgage loan has to pay off the IRS lien and the construction lien on top of that. So they've already ran our numbers and everything like that. They approved this. You have the money to do this. But then February 2018, basically March, we get a letter back from the construction loan people saying that's not going to work. You have too much debt to income, and that all breaks down. So it would have been nice to know that ahead of time, especially when we're starting off, because we have other options. We had maybe, I've got a spreadsheet of maybe 14 different people working on loans. Some of them can, some of them can't. It's a whole thing. But also, we have a house over in Plano. We can sell that house, and that really, honestly, we lose a lot of the debt, and we also lose payments going out, and that really fixes a lot of these things, had we known that we needed to do that ahead of time. But they said everything was good. So, I'm sorry. Okay, so February 28th is when we find out that that loan doesn't work, and it's March where we go ahead and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell the house then. Let's do this again, because at some point Doug sent over another letter letting us know that your permits run out and this has to happen. So we do that, and throughout the process, once again, we get conditionally approved on the mortgage side. A lot easier this time now that we're selling the house as well. And I can go into depth of, we're working as fast as we can on this, but even selling our current house with the IRS, you have to ask them permission to, and there's a 60-page paper trail to do this. It was lots of fun. They said, that's okay, we found a buyer. They said they're signed off on it. We have a title company, they're good with it. Everything is good to go at this point for selling that house. And I was freaking out about it. It's not in your packet, unfortunately, but this morning, or sorry, not this morning, but right out sitting in the hallway, I got conditional approval as well from the construction loan part as well. So this time it's a bit different. It's not just the mortgage side. It is also the construction loan has also given conditional approval. And there's really only 4 conditions. They want one more appraisal, they want an inspection, and then I have to sell my house and my car, which I have that under contract. At this point, whether I like it or not, that house is being sold on May 20th, really. So I know that this house has caused a lot of people problems, and I know it's been here for 4 years, and anyhow, I want this house built just as much as everybody else does, and I'm trying to get that done as fast as possible is the idea. So
You're asking that it not go toward demolition at this
Yeah.
point because you believe that you're close and having.
that's exactly right. I've got conditional
Final
approval from both
financing.
now, and I have the contract's signed, and everything's good to go, and it's just now getting to closing. So at the bottom of that timeline, I kind of wrote down the next steps. Assuming that you guys don't choose to demolish the house, our car gets sold at the end of this week. That's just the CarMax. There's nothing to this. I have that. The house, I have the contract and the HUD one from the title company proving that this will be sold. I think the date on that is May 27th, but I've already talked with them. They can move it up to May 20th. And then what I'm asking is after that, we're trying to close financing the day after that, and then I need about 90 days, I think, is all it takes to finish this house out. We've had a few contractor or people coming out to look at it. There's some pictures at the beginning of your packet that shows the condition of the house is actually, it's quite good on the inside. It's not airtight, but it is dry on the inside, and the wood is fine, and all that kind of stuff. The electrical and the plumbing and everything in the side of there is usable, and it's almost ready to be inspected. It just needs some tidying up before that. So it shouldn't take a lot to finish it. I think Doug's been in there at some point in the past year. I think you mentioned to me maybe 90 days seemed reasonable to you too. It shouldn't take long to get this thing finished up, but until this hearing happens, I can't even get a permit, and well, obviously financing still needs a few more days, but at this point, I think we're good to go ahead.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fox?
Yeah, Mr. Fox, thank you for coming.
Glad to, yeah.
So your goal would be to take the current structure as is and complete the house?
Yes, sir.
In the original design?
Yes, sir, that's right. There's a few parts of the blueprints that we took out to make it easier for financing, like no spiral staircase in the backyard and stuff like that. But really, for the most part, that's the plan. Now, I think the back porch has been weathered a little bit. That thing might have to be redone. But even the beams you can see in the house, they're all iron metal beams. Those things are solid, so that the core of this thing is usable is the point, and to take it as is with the original blueprints and finish it off. Yes, sir.
I guess the question for you, Doug, is looking at the condition of the house today, could you give it a green tag and let it be completed?
Looking at it today, I would probably, as the building official, request a structural engineer take a look at it and give me documentation stating that it is viable to move forward. I can't make that assumption just looking at it the way it is. I would prefer a structural engineer to put his signature on that. That takes liability off of the town. Because if I were to go in there and look at it and say, yes, it looks good, let's move forward, and then in the near future there are some issues involved, and then the town becomes liable. Not only the town, but myself becomes liable for allowing it to move forward. So one of the recommendations I would make would be having a structural engineer do an inspection on it and make any recommendations for any type of repairs, because it's been sitting there for 4+ years. I mean, the neighbors in the neighborhood are, concerned. Some of them are having issues with selling their property right now because of the state that it's in. They've voiced their opinions to me many times. I, of course, had to notify them that, we have been waiting for litigation and various other things. He had the opportunity 6 months ago to get it complete and done. He renewed the permit with the contractor. Nothing was done. As he stated, he was still trying to get financing. So even with him getting that permit, that was just another, I don't want to say ploy, but that was just another way of him extending everything out while he's still